Hey guys, welcome back to the Mr. French and More channel. And today, we're going to be reviewing Garfield Kart / Garfield Kart Furious Racing. But we're not going to be reviewing the 3DS or Switch version because I'm too lazy to capture footage for those. So we're going to get the footage I got the footage from the PC version. So yeah, stay tuned for my in-depth review and analysis, baby.
Okay, section 1. What is a Garfield Kart? So, the original Garfield Kart was released on November 13th, 2013, to near astounding reviews. Reviews that are perfect all across the board. Man, this game had higher reviews than so many other games that were passion projects built by actual people who cared about their work. But this game just soared above it. And it's just kind of it's just a weird game on the outside. It's just a kart game with this guy called Garfield the cat, who's apparently a comic strip. I don't think Garfield was as relevant as he was in 2013 and then in the 90s. So this was a very weird thing for them to do. Just make a random kart game. I mean, they had some weird games on the Wii, but just a random kart game on the 3DS. It's, I think, mobile and PC, so yeah, it's pretty weird, I know. And then I'm pretty sure it sold a good amount. Like, a lot of people bought it, and because it was kind of a meme game when Garfield became a meme. So then the studio, what is it, Microids or whatever? I don't know. I don't have the game here. So then it released the sequel / remake, Garfield Kart Furious Racing, on November 5th, 2019. So the game recently turned a year old. Congratulations to it. And yeah, that game, I feel like, actually had a lot of exposure, more than the original. Alright, part 2. Duck content. This game has 8 characters. You got Garfield, John, Liz, Odie, Arlene, Nermal, Squeak, and Harry. All pretty good picks, except for Harry. I would have put in Lyman instead. Lyman, that random character that was only in the first 3 years of Garfield. Yeah, that one. Doc Boy, maybe. I don't know. It's just a really weird cast of characters they picked for this game. But I guess they're just models they had sitting around recently from the Garfield show, which this game's aesthetic is heavily based off of. It's got 16 wonderful tracks. Oh, I forgot to mention, Garfield Kart's kind of like a Mario Kart ripoff. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but it's got items and stuff. So yeah, it's got 16 tracks divided into 4 cups. The thing is with the tracks is there's a lot of repetitive kind of overlapping between each of the tracks. There's 3 desert tracks, a couple tracks. There's a lot of tracks where there's grass and just road is a main feature. Reusing songs. Man, it's just... And there's not too many unique level gimmicks in each level, so... You're driving through Country Bumpkin, and there's mud and turns and grass to go over, and then you're driving through that one Pale Rock Lake level, and there's some places to drive over and turns and some mud, It's just... Although there's some Pasta Costa Factory, which has a lot more interesting stuff going on, and there's fun ones like Malimart, which is a very quick and nice level with a lot of skips. Oh yeah, modes. So there's a time trial mode, the main cup mode, of course, and there's this daily challenge where there's a really hard challenge on Monday because Garfield hates Monday. It's so funny. Okay. So yeah, I feel like there could have been other modes. In the original, there wasn't really a multiplayer mode. They had a beta for it at some point or something, but it kind of just didn't really have one. But in Furious Racing, they did have one, so it had some nice multiplayer functionality. Part 3, the gameplay of the game. So, the original... We're going to first talk about, the original mechanics. We're mostly just talking about the original here, by the way. I'll go into Furious Racing a bit later. But the original game, it's kind of clunky, but it's really snappy, actually, once you get a hold of the drifting, though. So there's a nice little learning curve to it, but you can still feel that it's a cheap, low-budget kart game made by some random studio who probably doesn't know how to, doesn't have past kart making game experience. But the thing is, kind of reminds me of Smash Bros. Melee. Like, you know how that game was, janky? So there's, a lot of tech. So Garfield Kart's like that. It's like Melee, you know? And, there's a lot of similarities I can bring to that game, but anyways. So yeah, there's a lot of tech, there's a lot of skips. The movement style is kind of unique, but, the thing is, it's fun to break the levels and do all this wacky stuff in Garfield Kart. But only when you're at the highest skill level, of course. Because when you're not at the highest skill level, it's just you clunking around the map and you're snapping all left and right all over the place. You're falling off ledges and getting glitched. But when you get onto that higher tier, you glitch right. You snap where you want to, you know. Its snappiness gets nice, the higher skill level. But I do have to knock it down a bit for that skill gap problem. The tracks, as I mentioned earlier, they aren't too complex. So when you're driving around them, the track isn't too much of it, but there is a good difference of skips and stuff to do in the tracks that will keep your mind above one brain cell active, you know? But the items is where it gets weird. Items and CPUs. The items are balanced okay. But the real problem is with the CPUs, how they use the items. Is they, you should throw with a homing pie at them, the red shell equivalent, like for Mario Kart. And then they'll just instantly jump once it goes near them. Because they have a spring, of course. Or they have a pie, so they just throw it backwards. And because you can't see what their inventory is, they could just spawn that out of nowhere. They could not actually... what if they didn't have that, you know? They're cheating. The CPUs cheat. They rubber band. They pull items out of nowhere. It's crazy. They have a high acceleration and top speed than you on 150cc. It's a bit unfair, but you can still beat them at a higher level, but that just creates a bigger skill gap. So yeah, the gameplay, I like it. I'm pretty high on the skill level, so I get some good enjoyment out of this gameplay. Part 4, the ports and Furious Racing. Okay. So, the original game was on 3 platforms. 3DS, mobile, and PC, as mentioned earlier. Yeah. So, 3DS was the worst. You turn on the 3D slider, the frame rate drops. Without it, it's still garbage. What else? The graphics are horrible. Everything's low res. Everything's low polygon count. I just would not recommend the 3DS version. But, the mobile version and the PC version are where it really strikes hard. Interestingly, in the mobile version, there's actually mission mode structure. There's a set path of missions, and they're pretty good to get through, but they eventually get pretty hard with the janky cheating AI and CPUs. So you can only get so much enjoyment out of the mobile version's mission mode. But there's some nice night mode and lighting in the mobile version, which is interesting. Some of the maps are nighttime, but on PC they're mostly just daytime, and I haven't played enough of 3DS to tell you if they're night or day, but some of the tracks on mobile are nighttime, and it looks nice. It looks very nice, I wish that was in the PC version. But oh yeah, now into Furious Racing, the other part of part 4. It was released on all 3 major consoles at the time, like the PS4 or the Xbox, whatever, and the Switch. Oh, and PC. And the ports are practically the same. There's no interesting differences to really point out. The Switch version only has 2-player local, because it can't handle it. The Switch version I would not recommend. The other consoles look pretty fine. But the PC version is definitely the best, It just has the best performance for me, and other stuff. Oh yeah, but Furious Racing as a game, so compared to the original game, they changed a good amount in Furious Racing. They uplifted all the graphics and assets, you know. Every character's got this weird cel-shaded look, which I'm fine with, you know. It looks fine. And they changed the kart physics, which I'm like, huh. You know, I don't know how I feel about this one, Chief. Changing the kart physics in one of my favorite games. I mean, okay. So the thing with the kart physics in Furious Racing is they feel nicer to a newcomer. They're much easier to uphold and stuff. But Furious Racing feels like a more polished experience. And you can't get that same jank and fun glitching and like jumping around and skips and stuff. And actually, side note, in Furious Racing, they actually remove skips on maps. Like, I think in Mally Market, there's like this part where you can cut a turn in the parking garage earlier. But in Furious Racing, they just remove that. They just remove skips. Sometimes they block off side areas, which does help because those were confusing for newcomers. And I'm completely fine with side areas being removed. But man, when they removed those skips that were like in there, like purposefully in there, that just hit me different, you know. My overall conclusions, part 6. So overall, this game, it has, or no, not part 6, part 5. Yeah. Okay, so overall, this game has a lot of goods, some negatives. Well, a lot of negatives, but those negatives can actually be transferred into goods. Like the glitches can allow for more complex gameplay and other stuff. And also, it's just a good just a game for Garfield show fans, and I guess Garfield fans too, but there's a couple Garfield comic fan things that will get people mad, like the exclusion of Doc Boy and Lyman. What else do I conclude about this game? Oh yeah, I'd recommend it, you know. Pick up Furious Racing if it's around. Definitely pick up the original when it's on sale for like $1 or $5 or whatever it's always on sale on Steam. That's a mighty fine pick, if I were to say so myself. Yeah. I think that's it, guys. So, Garfield Kart's a great game. No flaws. 10 out of 10. Game of the year. You should buy it. So, goodbye. Signing off. Mr. French and More channel. Goodbye.